Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we're taking a look at ChatGPT and SEO. Everyone's saying ChatGPT is going to revolutionize SEO, but is it really all that? I found this article the other day and it really made me think twice. And to help us unpack it all, we've got our amazing expert speaker. They can spot tech BS from a mile away.
Glad to be here.
So this article comes right out and says that ChatGPT can't actually DO SEO. It just kind of emulates it. They even compare it to those old Amiga emulators. You know how you can play Amiga games on your PC? It's basically saying ChatGPT's SEO skills are just a really good illusion.
Yeah, that's a pretty good comparison, actually. Like ChatGPT, it's built on patterns, right? But it's learning those patterns from massive amounts of data. It doesn't actually understand SEO the way, say, like an SEO expert would.
So when you see those claims like, oh, ChatGPT can do keyword research and it can write the perfect blog post and all that, that's where this article is like, hold on a second, not so fast.
Exactly. And this is where things get a little tricky.
Yeah.
You have to get what condensing and summarizing really mean. The article talks about this a lot, actually. Like ChatGPT might look like it's summarizing a document, but it's really just pulling out some key phrases and rearranging them.
So it's more like instead of getting a book review, you're getting the Spark Notes.
Yeah, exactly. One's giving you the bare minimum and the other's giving you actual analysis and context. Right?
Yeah.
And that takes, understanding. And that seems to be what ChatGPT doesn't quite have yet.
So it can make it look like it understands without actually understanding. Okay. So how does all this actually play out in the real world? The article mentions how the author asked ChatGPT to optimize a page, do some SEO on it. And what happened was really interesting.
Right, and ChatGPT kind of went through the motions. It even made this whole table, like a little checklist of tasks, even gave itself a rating on how accurate it was. But when you really dug into what it did, it was just mimicking, it was repeating a process.
Yeah.
Not really understanding what it was doing.
Yeah. And that is kind of, a little freaky when you think about it. So for someone who's like, all right, I'm going to use ChatGPT to help me with my SEO, why does this matter?
It all boils down to this. Just because it looks good doesn't mean it actually is good. To really use ChatGPT well, you've got to know what it can and can't do. Think of it this way. ChatGPT is amazing at patterns. It's like a pattern recognizing machine. But it's not a strategic thinker. Not yet, anyway. So yeah, it can speed up your work, but you're still the one who has to make sure that work is actually, good.
So don't just blindly trust whatever the AI spits out. Got it. The article also mentions something about ChatGPT and deception, which seems like a strong word. You know what I mean?
It's not that it's trying to trick people, right? It's more that the line between faking something and really understanding it, that line's getting blurry. It's easy to think of AI as human, to think it's got the same thought processes. And that's where things get a little messy. We get confused about what it can really do.
So it's not that ChatGPT is trying to be sneaky. It's more that we have to remember it's still just a tool, even if it is a crazy powerful tool.
Yeah, it's super easy to get tripped up, especially if you're not already a SEO master.
Because even when it's just spotting patterns, it doesn't always get it right.
Right.
The article used the word fib at one point, which I thought was funny, talking about a fib from an AI. But the point is, ChatGPT could give you something that sounds right, but then when you actually look at it closely, it's just not quite right.
Yeah, and to catch that, you often need to already know a good bit about the topic. The article made a good point about that you kind of need your own education, your own background to judge if what you're getting from ChatGPT is actually accurate, especially in a field like SEO, which can get pretty technical,
Okay, so let's say I'm trying to use ChatGPT to come up with some keywords for my blog, but I don't really know that much about SEO. Is it possible that ChatGPT could give me a list of keywords that seem good but would actually totally not work?
It's totally possible. It's imagine you're asking for directions in a city you've never been to. You might end up somewhere cool, but it might not be where you wanted to go.
Yeah.
And actually, the article talked about this with grammar specifically.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. It was almost like ChatGPT's grammar skills are kind of BS.
Well, it's not that it's totally useless for grammar. It can pick up some obvious stuff for sure. But it's not really looking at the clarity, the tone, or the style the way a real editor would. I think they even gave an example of how ChatGPT cleaned up a paragraph, but it still had grammatical errors in it.
Wow. So even with something like grammar, you still need a human eye for those little details.
For sure. And it's the same with other SEO stuff, like writing meta descriptions or even whole blog posts. ChatGPT can make it sound like a human wrote it. But sounding human doesn't mean it's good, Doesn't mean it's accurate, and it definitely doesn't mean it's actually good for SEO.
So you could actually end up creating more work for yourself by trying to use ChatGPT for SEO if you don't know what you're doing. Like you think it's saving you time, but then you end up fact checking and editing and basically like redoing everything it did.
100%, yeah. And that gets to why it's so important to know both, know the good stuff about AI, but also what it can't do yet.
Okay, so is there a way to use it well for SEO without being an expert? Because the article did say there are good ways to use it.
Oh, for sure.
All right.
We've got to be smart about it, right? Know
Well,
the limitations. And this is where those plugins they talk about come in.
plugins, like add-ons to ChatGPT that are like SEO specific?
Yep. If you connect ChatGPT to those specialized SEO tools, you can make it way more accurate. It's like you need to do a ton of math and you give someone a calculator. Doesn't mean they suddenly understand calculus or whatever, but it means they can get the job done.
Okay, so instead of asking ChatGPT to just kind of like pull keywords out of thin air, you connect it to a tool that's designed to do keyword research. So it's using actual data instead of just whatever it remembers seeing somewhere.
You got it. That way it's not just guessing based on patterns. It's actually using, real world data.
That makes a lot of sense. So you're using ChatGPT for what it's good at, like being fast and spitting out text and stuff, but you're also acknowledging that it's not perfect, so you're helping it out.
Right. The article talks about plugins for grammar and SEO analysis and things like that. And those can seriously up ChatGPT's game. Again, it's not about getting rid of humans. It's about giving humans even better tools.
So the future of ChatGPT and SEO isn't that it's going to do it all for us. It's more that it becomes this like superpowered assistant.
That's a good way to put it. I like that. It's about choosing the right tool for the job.
Right.
ChatGPT is awesome at processing tons of stuff super fast, making text. But for the strategy, the nuance, really thinking critically, that's still where humans come in.
Which I guess brings us back to the importance of expertise even in this like AI-powered world, right?
Totally. It's our ability to, actually think about things, understand the context, see the little details. That's what makes humans so valuable.
Before we go too far, there's something we talked about earlier that I want to come back to. Remember when we talked about how ChatGPT doesn't really summarize stuff? It's more like it just condenses it.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Yeah.
That's something worth spending a bit more time on because it really shows you what ChatGPT is actually doing versus what we might think it's doing.
So break that down for us. Why does that even matter? If it's pulling out the important stuff, isn't that enough? Why is it a big deal that it's not like really summarizing, especially for something like, I don't know, SEO research?
Because understanding is key.
Yeah.
Like actually summarizing something means you get it, the meaning, the context, all of it. You see the whole picture. But ChatGPT doesn't do that.
Because it's not really reading and understanding the way we do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all about those patterns, remember. It sees keywords, phrases, even how the text is laid out. But the real meaning, that deeper level, not so much.
So it's like those recipe websites, right? You have to scroll through like their life story to get to the actual recipe. And with ChatGPT, we're getting like the bullet points, but not necessarily the why behind them.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Perfect analogy. We want the good stuff without all the fluff. And with ChatGPT, we got to remember, it's great at processing information, but it doesn't always understand what's actually important information.
That's a really good point, especially with something like, competitive analysis. It's tempting to just feed ChatGPT a website and be like, okay, tell me what this competitor is all about. But are we really getting the full story then?
Probably not. Don't get me wrong. It's amazing how fast it can go through stuff. But we can't mistake that for like actual accuracy. Always double check, use your own brain, all that good stuff. It's a tool, not a replacement.
This has been so interesting. I feel like we've gone way beyond just ChatGPT and SEO and got into some pretty deep stuff about how we even think about AI.
Yeah, and that's the important part. This stuff is everywhere now. It's not just about one job or one task. It's about figuring out how to use it well and not let it, use us.
I thought it was funny when they compared ChatGPT to an eager-to-please intern because it's true. We want to believe it's like a person, even when we know it's not.
Yeah, and it's easy to do. It makes sense. It's a very human thing to do.
Yeah.
But we got to watch out for that, especially with AI, because it can lead us down the wrong path, make us trust it too much.
And make bad decisions or misinterpret information.
Exactly. This is why critical thinking is more important than ever. Don't just believe what you see. Question things. Dig a little deeper.
So knowing all this, how do we move forward? What's your advice for navigating the world of AI?
Honestly, learn about it. The more you know how this stuff works, what it's good and bad at, the better you can use it.
So don't be afraid of the tool. Just be an informed user.
Exactly. AI is going to keep changing, that's for sure. It's exciting, it's powerful, but we got to be thoughtful. Learn about it, play with it, sure, but don't just blindly accept everything it tells you.
Love it. Don't be afraid to explore, but think critically. Thanks to everyone for joining us for another deep dive, and remember, we'll be back next time with even more explorations into the world of tech. See you then.